Pastor Melissa here with stories from the Wild Oregon Synod Web. And I am so excited to introduce you to the Storyline community, one of the Oregon Synod's newest ecumenical mission developments rooted in the Oak Grove, Milwaukee community. And we get to meet Storyline today through the pastor organizer pair extraordinaire, Anna Holsley and Sara Samuelson. Now, Anna and Sara, as I understand it, Storyline community is really one community with two expressions and identities, yes? A faith community and a community collective with shared values of feeling known, welcomed, and empowered as you seek to know and meet the needs of your neighborhood with your neighbors. Does that feel right? And I would just really love to hear you share a story with us that gets at the heart of the Storyline community.
Yeah, absolutely. So just in that byline there that you shared, the words of neighbors knowing and meeting the needs of our own neighborhood has been part of the vision from like the very inception, when it was just a tiny little core team dreaming about what it might be like to build something new rooted in the neighborhood. So we've always built partnerships and relationships with that in mind, and built an organization and midwifed a structure that is really flexible in nature, that's allowed us to pivot to meet those needs, because we also are able to make quick decisions as well as long and slow ones. So when the wildfires hit just a little over a month ago, we were able to make one of those quicker pivots to meet the immediate needs of our neighbors, and stand up a smoke shelter for our neighbors who are houseless in less than 5 hours, using church partnerships. At least 3 of our local churches, including Oak Grove UMC, who opened their doors to be the building that hosted the shelter, and a bunch of other community partnerships to provide showers and laundry and food, cooking meals, COVID style, for all of our houseless neighbors that were staying there overnight, stepping in to volunteer 24/7. It was really fantastic, like random neighbors off of our Facebook community group volunteering to go run and pick up Starbucks donations of coffee or Clorox wipes for the bathrooms. And it became so clear in that moment, in the midst of crisis, that web that was being woven together by all of those intentional partnerships, and collections of neighbors, was really clear and expanding and growing. And I think that's it's at the heart of our vision for community, is in continuing to find ways to enliven that web outside of the context of crisis.
That's amazing. I can really see and hear spirit threading relationships, and making something new that's needed in the world, in the moment, even in the hardest moments. That's incredibly powerful. Thank you. I'm curious, what is one dream that spirit or divine mystery is weaving among your community for the future? So we have crisis, but what for the long term?
Yeah, I think that as the Synod puts it, that wild and woolly web of relationships that we really sort of invest in again and again shows up in both of those spaces. And one of the kind of long-term, more developmental work that we're engaged in, that we're very excited about, we just launched the Clackamas Land and Housing Cohort, which is a local expression of the Levin Land and Housing Coalition, as you know, Melissa. And it seeks to help faith communities and other thoughtful property owners in our local county dream about how their land can be used and really kind of redeemed for the use of the needs of the community, particularly the housing needs, which are so great in our community. That is one of the stories that we kind of heard again and again and again when we started this work. All of the pressures facing our neighbors seem to just kind of circle back to that domino that affected everything else. So in this room, what makes it so exciting is we have all of these people, all these relationships of local churches and local city and county folks and local retirement center and neighbors who say, I want to be a part of this work. And in the midst of that, just in the last couple of months as we've started, these beautiful dreams are popping out just organically out of each of these different spaces. And it's really, really exciting to see emerge and grow.
That's amazing. I love how you are stewarding those gifts that God has given us, the gift of land and the gift of relationship for the dance of life that is needed into the future for our communities. Now, I know personally and alongside you that this work is pretty hard. And so I'm curious for each of you and your around your sense of call, why do you do this work?
Mm. I think for me, I go back, I think I've always been called to people, and I express that in ministry in a local church. I've also always been called to my neighborhood, and I started to feel a tension between the two, kind of like I was torn between both worlds, and that always kind of felt like a conflict, and that my neighbors couldn't make the leap to the church world. It was too different culturally. Um, and I think that started to just raise a question in me that said, what if church were actually grounded in the neighborhood, in the hopes and dreams and bedrock of the people right around us? What would that look like? And I think as that started to, it was just sort of a twinkle in my eye when I had a neighbor who was a neighbor who was not a churchgoer and was quite the opposite, right? Not interested, sat me down and said, I had a vision of you that I think I need to tell you about. And that vision is that you would start a community for people like me who would never step foot into a church, but we still need to be rooted. We still need to be grounded in the relationships around us. And we need someone to bridge that for us. So that was sort of this moment where that dream kind of said, like, okay, this isn't just in my head, this is a call.
Yeah.
Around that same time, I was discerning leaving my first call to take some time on leave, and the words that I was using was like similar but different tension, and that was that I was struggling with a deep call to word and sacrament ministry, which is the language we use in the ELCA to describe a pastoral call. But like I confessed to Bishop Dave a couple of years ago, like I felt that deep call, but I didn't feel called to a congregation. I also felt called to my community, and it was like, the moment when you spit words out of your mouth and you're like, oh, wait, I can't, no, you can't take it back. And so Anna, who I know from college, we were college classmates. When I moved to Milwaukee, we started sharing some of these similar stories. And that's where sort of like, not just midwifing the community of Storyline, but midwifing like a co-pastoring and a co-partnership in this sharing of like, oh, what are these words? What do we do? And that's been the story all along, is like a yes that we can't say no to, because the words are out there, right?
Yeah, beautiful. Well, I just want to say thank you to both of you for saying yes. And we'll end with some on a fun note. If Storyline Community had a theme song or signature dance move, what would it be?
We are both partial to the entire soundtrack of Moana, but in particular, the song that happens sort of in the middle, like the climax-ish or the denouement of the movie, if you will, when Moana's grandma comes to her as a spirit on the water to sing to her, and the words that she says to Moana really have driven a lot of our discernment time. You'd be amazed the discernment that you can derive from Disney movies. So we just thought we'd share some of the lyrics with you all today. Sometimes the world seems against you. The journey may leave a scar, but scars can heal and reveal just where you are. The people you love will change you. The things you have learned will guide you, and nothing on earth can silence the quiet voice still inside you.
Beautiful. There's some theology of the cross dwelling in there. I could hear it.
Mhm.
So Lutheran, Moana.
She didn't even know.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you both so much for being with us. I just want to extend my thanks to you both for this hard, good work, and know that we are singing with you and dancing with you, Sarah and Anna, and the whole Storyline community. Thank you for being in wild relationship with the Oregon Synod.